Hello and welcome back to Galactic Reviews. And
Yay!
let's get right into it.
Yay!
So you remember Ahsoka? I mean, I would think you would. It wasn't that long ago. So I have no idea if this is good or not. I have not seen this video, but this is from a couple guys I watch every now and then called Echo Base Network. And they have this thing, and they have this video on there that says Dave Filoni predicts his Star Wars storytelling failure. Thought we'd take a look at this and see how this goes. So
that explained everything about this. What he just said explains everything that's wrong with his storytelling.
I'm just going to show you guys a clip. Nick didn't know I was doing this. Nick hasn't seen this. Just indulge me for 55 seconds. All right. See what Dave Filoni said 12 years ago.
You will notice on this box that there
is
a documentary on the Mortis trilogy. Christian Taylor, who wrote the trilogy, and myself, we both firmly believe that we should really not answer directly a lot of the questions about Mortis. Was that really Qui-Gon Jinn that appeared to Obi-Wan in the cave or not? What does it mean that Ahsoka talks to her older self? Will she ever reach that age? Who was the father? What does it mean now that Anakin's the chosen one and that he has a better understanding of that? Ahsoka apparently died and she came back to life. Does that have any meaning? We have answers to those questions for sure. But if I answer directly what something is, I feel that I'll be robbing you of the purpose of that arc, which is to make you wonder. It's to make you challenge certain ideas, to ask questions.
Mystery box theater. I'm just going to leave you hanging and leave you guessing.
12 years ago, he told us exactly who he is as a storyteller. That's exactly what he did. All these questions that we have, all the things that the experts that love the Disney Star Wars, that defend it, that wish death upon us, the people that are defending this stuff, they're saying, it all makes sense to them. What's your problem? No, it doesn't. You can't explain half of what I saw in Ahsoka this season, and he just told you right there.
He just said it.
And I don't know if he has the answers either.
He doesn't even know what he's doing. Like Filoni is a hack. He is a hack. F Dave Filoni. F this Ahsoka show. I'm done.
Wow, man.
I'm done.
I never knew he said all of that.
I tell stories that I don't want you to know the answers to.
Yeah.
What's the point of the story?
I'm so done. I cannot wait to get into One Piece. I cannot wait to get into content that I actually enjoy instead of this hot trash garbage. I'm so sick and tired of it.
Man.
I'm going to go and add my 2 cents on it because I can somewhat relate to what they're saying. I don't know if you have any input on this at all, but kind of seen that with Ahsoka, and that's been one of my main problems, I guess, with Ahsoka show. Like there is no plot, like no sustenance is there. It's a guessing game a lot of the time. And I think I brought that up a lot in the in our Ahsoka review, especially with the writing. And Thomas just couldn't. I don't know why Thomas.
I would kind of disagree with that.
You would disagree. Okay.
Yeah, because it's like
with their point,
but that's like it's more of like it's kind of like you have to know in order to know what they're doing.
No, not quite.
Well, kind of.
Not really, because a lot of this, because Dave Filoni, they're kind of spelling it out because these guys are fans. These guys have been very, at least Coach and Nick have, I don't know about the DA.
I can really tell that they're fans. I can really tell that they're fans of Star Wars and all that.
One really big fans of Star Wars, and Nick, as you can see, where he says not a Star Wars channel anymore, which to me is kind of sad, in all honesty.
Yeah, that is sad, but it's just funny though.
Yeah, I think the main problem is that with Clone Wars you could get away with it. With Clone Wars you could get away with not To some degree, you could get away with like not having it be like its own thing, like having a lot of the stories be its own thing, because it's essentially just war tales. It's essentially battles where you get to see some characters grow, but especially the clones, you get to see them grow, and then you get to see them die a lot of the time. And even with some of the Jedi that show up there, a lot of the characters show up, you see them grow, and you see them die. Like that's roughly it. And you can get away with that, like trickery of not really needing to tell a story, but in these sort of instances where the story is somewhat needed, and it's just feels like it's either the bare minimum or it's non-existent at all. So yeah, I'm shocked that you kind of disagree, especially since Dave Filoni basically said it.
Well, I agree with some of it, but it's like in Ahsoka specifically, you know where the story is eventually going to go.
Well, yeah, you know,
you aren't like you're kind of guessing at the beginning because you don't know what. Well, you kind of do know what that guy and his Chihuahua are wanting to do.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is like,
which is
like,
bring back Grand Admiral.
Well, granted, you know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. So you're thinking of all these interesting ways that this could happen, all the intricacies that would need to take place because this is such a big universe. And a lot of that stuff doesn't happen. A lot of stuff isn't answered as to why some things don't happen or why this specifically happened. A lot of that isn't answered. It is left to your own devices. And I think that's one of the problems that a lot of people had when watching Ahsoka, that basically nothing happened. That's one of my problems. I think I believe I had with Bad Batch was, especially season 1, because I was looking forward to it. It was going to be clones. We were going to enjoy clones again. That was one of the great things about Clone Wars. That's really the only thing I really love in the Dave Filoni Clone Wars is the clones. That's about the only thing I think he actually got right. They absolutely did a horrible job with it. It was essentially this. It was mystery box tales. There was no interesting way that things were resolved. Like they said, Omega was special. They never say why she was made, which is something that you would think Kaminoans are experts in their craft on cloning. So why did they make Omega? Why exactly was she made? That's never really explained. And yet it's treated as this big, giant intricacy of the season itself, and you never get an answer for it. To the point where in season 2, they just forget it.
And then they tried to even like add another subplot that she has a sister.
Well, towards the end, that's more so just a cliffhanger to get you back in for season 3 whenever they do that, even though like they haven't really done anything with the story in and of itself.
The original story, that is.
Any of the story, really. Tech dying at the end is also another thing to like get at your heartstrings and make you wonder, is he going to come back? Is he dead for real?
Will he come back? Yeah.
Because they did find his goggles, but it doesn't mean they found the body. So
yeah, so he could still be out there.
That's the
and
way.
Even if they do find him,
so.
What's going to happen? Will he Luke Skywalker them, or like what's going to happen there?
And then they do stuff in the crappiest way possible. They had a great way to do Crosshair. They had a great way to do Crosshair. And then they went, and I think because they thought that the fans were going to get what they wanted to do, or they just went in a crappy direction entirely. It's not explicitly known. I don't know why they chose that pathway for Crosshair, but they did, and that's the way that it is.
I thought it was interesting how he was like going to be with the Empire, but it's
the way they did it was crappy. The way they did it was crappy. Like if they just had like these clones either get told by Rex early on to take the chips out, but Crosshair decide to stay with the Empire anyway, that could have been interesting. and could have been interesting for like the second season. However, they did a horrible job with that. They did a horrible job in changing Crosshair from being Empire to now no longer wanting to be in the Empire. It's crappy storytelling. So I get completely where these guys are upset from. And a lot of this falls on Dave Filoni because he's been heading a lot of these projects. And this is something that not only is this something that he said way back, this is something he said back during Clone Wars. So people are starting to see the connect the dots and see, oh, the warning signs were there. We just didn't see them because we were loving the product. But yeah, I'm surprised that you disagree a little bit, but not entirely shocking.
I disagree with like where he said that you're guessing at the plot.
Okay.
Because and this is just how I've watched the series. You really get, it's not the fact that you're guessing at the plot, which I agree that there might be some cases where you might like have to guess, but I think with like the Ahsoka series, you have to figure out, okay, what are these two after? Oh, they're after Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is, I think it's personally painstakingly obvious. Like right when Ezra was mentioned in Mandalorian, or right when Grand Admiral Thrawn was mentioned in this one of the seasons of Mandalorian, I forget.
Yeah.
I knew for a fact that they were getting to bringing Rebels back, and I thought that was, or bringing Rebels to a live action, which made me think, oh, so there's a chance that Ezra comes back. And I think with this, it's like, they're planting stones. You have to find them. Like,
I can get that, but there's a difference between the way they did it and say like a Detective Noir did it, like Haunting in Venice, or even Detective Pikachu. I'll even go that far. Where like keys are left all throughout and you're able to see them and you're able to piece it all together. Whereas in this, or like Ahsoka, it was essentially figure it out yourself. It's never explicitly like come to a conclusion where like, oh, all this comes together. No, this one's like, you
especially
figure it out and we'll figure it out along with you. Like it's never
because it's like
said.
Yeah, because I agree with that, especially at the end, because you don't know what Ahsoka and Sabine are doing there.
Well, also
on whatever planet that is. You also have Chihuahua who's there, who, well, we don't even know what she's going to be doing with the tribe. And then you've got older guy who's finding a higher calling, I guess. And he's going to do that with a bunch of stones. I don't know. You're kind of at a guessing game with that. But I think it's good to leave that series off of a cliffhanger, because I know for sure they're going to come back to this probably next year after.
Yeah.
But I think what they're going to do is because it's good to leave a show like this on a cliffhanger, because you then get to see, okay, we know that there is something that they are going to be doing. What is that? Like, for example, will Ahsoka train Sabine while on that planet? I think that's one of the huge things that I think should happen. Will it? That's up to Dave Filoni. What I think they should have done was Chihuahua should have been with the older guy. I honestly don't know their names. So Chihuahua should.
Anybody else who watched the show, because nobody cares.
Yeah. Chihuahua should have been with the older guy, trying to find his higher calling. But one of the things that I think that will eventually happen is Chihuahua will kill him off, complete her training, and he will fail to find his higher calling.
Yeah, well, I think what most people are mad of, and it seems like these guys are too, is the mystery box sort of. What I'm saying is like the mystery box sort of writing is where stuff happens. Like you could say stuff happens, but like it's nothing concrete happens. Nothing.
No, a lot of concrete stuff happened.
Not really. No, a lot of this is a
Yeah.
lot like what I would say was Force Awakens, kind of, where stuff happened. You can like that stuff happened, but it's missing a lot of key elements that make Star Wars Star Wars.
Mm.
And it completely
I'll
relies
agree with
on,
that.
and it completely relies on stuff that comes next. Like it's not its
Mm-hmm.
own story. You could say that with a lot of. I think you could say that.
I
with
think
basically
a
Bad
lot
Batch
of
a lot. It's a lot
I
of.
think a
this
lot of
stuff.
concrete stuff happened though.
Well,
Like for example, Grand Admiral Thrawn finally is able to get back to whatever the universe is. He's finally able to get back, and he's finally able to, with his army and the sisters as well. All of them are now back. More importantly, Ezra is back. Ezra is now back, and he is now with Hera, and both of them can now work to get a rebel alliance going to go against Grand Admiral Thrawn.
yeah.
And I think that's a good stepping stone, because now it's the question of will the whole rebel group go back, get those the four like the two Jedi, two Sith people, will they go back, get all of them back, bring them back to the galaxy far, far away, and be able to take down Grand Admiral Thrawn? Because it's like you see a lot of stepping stones here, and I think what's really nice about this is that Ahsoka and Sabine are on a planet by themselves, and both of them have the ability to train. Like Sabine specifically has the ability to train. Ahsoka can figure out a few things about herself and train herself even more, I think.
Yeah,
because they also have that robot too, so she might even become even better.
The robot should be with Luke when he's starting up a new Jedi Order. I don't see that as a good. There's a lot of flaws. There's a lot of stuff that you have to like figure out all by yourself, and you're saying some stuff where it's like, yeah, that could be true. Granted,
like I think it's like they're trying to set up it's kind of,
yeah,
I know it's like Star Wars 7.
Yeah,
but
it's a lot like
like
Star Wars 7 because a lot of it is just setup. Like nothing.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Concrete story. And granted,
I mean, but there is some stuff there that we have found concrete though. Yeah, we thought Ezra was dead. We thought Grand Admiral Thrawn, his entire fleet,
let me
dead.
talk because this is just you repeating. Let me just talk. So this is what Ahsoka. If you were going to be a setup sort of thing, this should have been like Episode 5 of Star Wars, where it was a setup, but it's its own movie. It can stand on its own. This cannot stand on its own. Ahsoka's show cannot stand on its own. No matter what you say, it cannot stand on its own.
I agree with that.
If you were to go watch Ahsoka, not having watched any Star Wars, mind you, if you were to go watch Ahsoka, you would not even want to touch any of the rest of the stuff. Whereas if you watch any of the Star Wars movies, you would either want to know more or at least be somewhat intrigued to look into this stuff and figure out, okay, is this for me or not? You could see the same thing for probably Clone Wars, either Clone Wars.
Maybe.
That's where I'm
I agree with that.
At.
I don't agree with how Clone Wars and
probably not Clone Wars, but
because Clone Wars can be a good standalone.
I don't know. It depends on
you're
the
talking
episode
movie or series.
The series. I don't think the movie would do justice, but the series.
Yeah, I would say
I think it depends on the episodes. 100%. For the series, I think it depends on the episodes. For the micro series, that is the best one. I think if you watch that in its entirety, you would probably be intrigued to go, okay, let's see what this is. I think if you watch a couple shorts every now and then after watching, it might take you a while, especially if you're just watching them like the 5 second or the 5 minute increment shorts that they are. That might be a problem, but yeah. So let's get back to hearing these guys talk because I'm pretty sure they're going to be saying something very similar to what we said.
Explained everything about this. What he just said explains everything that's wrong with his storytelling. It literally explains everything. He has no desire to tell a story. He just wants to throw stuff out there for you to wonder and guess about. You'll never know what the answers are, and we're just going to be sitting here wondering. And then what is that? Just generate a whole lot of people guessing and, oh, let's come up with theories and this and that. And it's like, but you'll never get answers to these things because Filoni doesn't want answers.
And how much did we see George Lucas do that?
Never. Never.
The stuff about Vader being Luke's father, that was kind of ended on that cliffhanger but it all got resolved. You know, it got resolved. Yes. But
holes were filled.
But if you take just the first Star Wars movie, I mean, it's a complete story. And even the second one, even though you know it's a continuation and that there's another part coming, I mean, it's a complete story in of itself as well. You know, there's questions at the end because it's left so open ended. But
that's the one thing they left as a, you know, kind of unresolved. Like, well, what happens with Han and what's going on with Luke and Vader? That's kind of where they leave you at the end of Empire. But the rest of the story flowed. It made sense. You knew what was happening. It's just that at the very end, the tide turned on the heroes. Okay. Like everything was going kind of in the heroes' direction. I mean, not really, but at the end, you know, okay, now we get up to the moment of truth. You know, oh, Han, he ends up getting frozen. He's off to Jabba's palace. And then Luke, all right, man, what's going to happen with Luke? He loses his hand. He loses to Vader. They have to rescue him. And now, you know, he finds out that Vader is his father. And so that now, wow, that really makes me intrigued. But what Dave Filoni is doing is nothing close to that. He's just leaving all kinds of open-ended threads for people to guess about.
J.J. Abrams mystery box theater times 100. Times 100.
So let's be clear here. I'm okay if a storyteller gives us one or two things, a couple of things where we have to wonder and ponder, and we might not have ever gotten an answer to. That's okay. That could be intriguing. There's no doubt about that. But to have an inordinate amount of things that are just nonsensical.
So many.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were discussing, ironically enough. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I do agree with them. I understand a little bit why you would disagree, but I understand that. I get that you kind of disagree with that, but I don't know. Maybe that might change a little bit over time. Who knows? But
like I said, there is a lot of question with this.
Yeah,
but I think that's good because
it can be
if they want to go. It can be. Now, it can be. But I'm just saying, like, with this type of thing where they're trying to elongate it, it's good to have those types of questions. Like, like, what does Sabine and Ahsoka do while on that planet? And what does that Chihuahua and old guy do? You know, like, it's like that. How are Ezra and Hera going to either are they going to defeat Grand Admiral Thrawn, or B, are they going to go and try and get Ahsoka and Sabine, then come back? I mean, there's like all these little questions that you have in this show that and those I think as we go along, those will get answered. But as of right now, we just have to wait. Yeah, and that's kind of like
I think a lot of what they said, and I think Coach said this mainly was the fact that and I think Coach and the DA said this was like episode 5 had questions towards the end. Like it was a continuation, but it could have stood alone for the most part, except for that bit at the end where it was obviously a continuation. This was essentially just nothing but cobbled together continuation of stuff in order to get you to another thing that's going to continue it later on and possibly end it. You don't know. I think that's what a lot of people are.
It's like cobblestone in Minecraft.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of getting upset about. I remember Uncle Ray, you remember Uncle Ray, when we went to go watch Solo, he's only watched the movies. So towards the end, when Darth Maul shows up, he's like, "What the? I thought he was dead." Like if you don't know the show, you're not gonna know any of that stuff. So when they do stuff like that, where, oh, that's interesting, maybe, but it kind of, is hindering to what was shown previously, you kind of gotta, choose. You can't do something. You can do something that's open-ended and make somebody go back and look like that. That might be interesting, but
is there
if you're gonna
clues for what they're doing next?
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna do that kind of thing like that, where the normal fan is not gonna get it, and you're expecting the normal fan to essentially, and this is for those. This is what those shows are for. That's why they're releasing them on Disney Plus and not Disney XD, the thing that nobody watches. And ironically enough, nobody really watches Disney Plus much anyway either, according to the numbers.
Disney Channel.
Either one, Disney XD, Disney Plus, Disney Channel, they all have about the same. Yeah, but it's just it's one of those things where it is essentially just a mystery box, and it has become something that has become more of a problem for you. Tasteless essentially, where it could have been somewhat intriguing, like you didn't know Yoda's species, wasn't a big deal. You didn't know why the Death Star had a port. If you open port where it was like a self-destruct button, like essentially it was. In fact, Phineas and Ferb Star Wars special makes fun of that, but it's not something that takes you away from the movie.
Oh, and Perry, and by the way, Perry the Platypus does what Rogue One couldn't do, and he did it alive and on a one-man mission.
Yeah.
So everyone who watched Rogue One, haha, Perry the Platypus did it better.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is when stuff like Phineas and Ferb Star Wars crossover special pays more respect to Star Wars than Force Awakens and the continuation, where at least Phineas and Ferb have a decent enough plot, making everything flow, feels more like Star Wars than any of the other prequels did. That is, or sequels did.
Except for the lawnmower spinning lightsabers.
Yeah, well, that one was just them making fun of everything they had done, and I don't know if Rebels had come up by that point, but that might have just been them making fun of Rebels, making fun of Rebels, making fun of like especially the Inquisitors. Lego had done that previously before, where they were making fun of Darth Maul, and Darth Maul had put on his lightsaber, turned it on, got 1, 2, and then had 6 go out all over his lightsaber all at the same time. I think Lego's done that before, where they made fun of it. So they could have been making fun of that with Darth Maul thing at the end. That was probably more of an homage, and then making fun of him at the same time. Or that could have just been them making fun of Rebels, the Inquisitors, where their lightsaber does a spinning move. I don't know, but
spin. Yeah.
So
it's kind of cool though how it spins.
Yeah. Not really. The Inquisitors?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make them a better lightsaber dual person.
It doesn't make
just
any
as
sense.
cool.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like physics wise, or
yeah, physics wise.
Oh.
So in the handle, there's the crystal. From the crystal comes out the beam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the handle, the crystal stays the same, whereas the whole blade rotates. So how does the blade go out? What's the point of this? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, the problem is there.
Mirror.
They can't do what?
I don't know.
Like, they can't. You see what I'm saying? Like, that is a problem, like, fundamentally with the lightsaber.
I don't know.
Like, do you know what I'm speaking about?
Yeah, I understand. I just don't know how they do that.
They can't. It's the same story box. It's the same mystery box storytelling that they're talking about. So, all right. So that is it for this episode of Galactic Reviews. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on Galactic Reviews.
Bye.